All right. Today I'm here with Sasha Kubitskyi, and forgive me if I didn't pronounce that correctly.
That's right.
That's right. Okay, Sasha Kubitskyi, and Sasha is the owner and proprietor of, is it Cub or
KUB, we call it KUB.
KUB Custom PC?
That's right.
And they are a full service computer retailer and service.
Yep, computer upgrades, service, sales, so anything really related to computers.
And they're located out by Walmart in Park Rapids.
Yep, 266 Henrietta Avenue.
266 Henrietta Avenue. Okay, good. So, Sasha, you've got kind of an interesting story because you ended up in Park Rapids, but you were actually born in Ukraine.
Correct. Yeah, that's correct. Born in the middle of Ukraine, pretty much central part of Ukraine.
Okay. And so what was it like growing up in Ukraine, and how did it come to pass that you now live in Park Rapids, Minnesota?
So yeah, I was born in Ukraine, city called Vinnytsia, central part of Ukraine, and I've graduated school there. Obviously, was growing up until 2012. Well, actually, first I visited the United States in 2010. I was working at Illinois because I've graduated from agricultural university, so I have an economical agricultural degree. So we had kind of like a exchange student programs where we could take a part in visiting different countries in the world and participate in different various work programs. So I've chose America, as I was always kind of anticipating to see the America, experience America, and also kind of improving my English, because we learned in a school English a little, but it was not so in depth. It was more kind of a UK version of English, which is a little bit harder. So I visited United States for the first time, worked at the agricultural company it was a tomato plant field, and then after that returned back to Ukraine, worked a little bit there, and then went here back in 2012.
Okay. And so just kind of interested about how the education in English works. So is it like a textbook, or does your teacher speak English to you, or just sort of how is it introduced, and are you tested on it, or how did that process work?
It is very light kind of a version. They don't go in depth so much into actual practical English. It's more of like a rules by book. You read and then repeat. So but there's nobody who was actually in United States or in England, or maybe they visited when they were as a student, just like a short period exchange programs too. But yeah, it's very kind of a light version. So
did you find learning first of all, does Ukrainian use the Cyrillic alphabet?
yes.
So did you find it difficult to learn the Arabic, or I guess it's the Arabic alphabet that we use?
If you're starting out to learn as you're young, it's very easy. I mean, if you already kind of in a certain age pass school period, you probably is going to be a little bit harder. But if it's interesting for you, that you're getting it pretty quickly.
Okay. So you graduated, was it a college degree?
It was university. It was National Agricultural University. So I've graduated with a master degree in agricultural economics and management.
Yeah.
So then I came here in Park Rapids to work at one of the agricultural nurseries. So I worked there for 10 plus years. So yeah, and then after that, but technical kind of a side of things was always right by my side. So we was always kind of doing computer repairs and services on the side. But at a certain point, we just thought that we should, by exploring the market and how the situation with the computer market here in this area, we decided that we need some help to give the people.
Yep. So because there was a need for your services here.
Definitely.
Right. Okay. So what year did you actually get to Park Rapids then?
So I've got here on March of 2012.
12.
Yeah.
And before you came here, did you have any idea like what Park Rapids was like, or You know, I mean, how did it come to how did you select this place?
To be honest with you,
Yeah.
I had no idea
Yeah.
where I'm coming because it was agricultural program. So there was a little description where it's going to be. It probably came down just to Googling the location and see the surroundings. But at that years, you couldn't kind of zoom in like you can do right now with the 3D models.
Right.
It was just, small town. Oh, all right.
Yeah.
We're going.
And were you married by that time?
No. I actually met my wife here in Park Rapids.
Oh, you did?
She's from Ukraine. She's from Ukraine too.
Oh,
and she works at the nursery too. She came here in 2013.
Okay, so two people from different parts of Ukraine came to
Totally different, yeah.
Came to Park Rapids and met each other.
Yep.
Well, it's got to be nice though. I mean, I can see how people could become friends, you know, working under those circumstances because you speak the same language and it was easier. You know, you have those same cultural type of you know things that bond you together and all that stuff. So.
Yeah, she had same energy as me. You know, she was always kind of like a pusher. Let's do it. Let's get it going. So.
Yep. Okay. I wanted to ask you this. So, climate-wise, is Minnesota similar at all to the weather in where the part of Ukraine that you grew up?
I'd say it's absolutely the same.
I always suspected that. Yeah.
The only difference would be is probably the temperature in the winter. I would say pick middle of the winter and middle of the summer. In the middle of winter is very cold. It's not getting that cold in Ukraine.
Okay.
And in the summer, we don't get that humidity level. So it's a lot cooler, kind of a lot of warmer winters and a lot of cooler summers there.
But essentially it's the same.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, do they get below zero there at all, or in Ukraine?
Yeah,
but
definitely.
Just not the extreme.
And not for a long period of time. It might hold up for a couple of weeks. You know, usually they have like a wet winter. I would say
a lot of snow,
a lot of melting, a lot of mud.
So it wasn't a complete shock to you to come to this climate. It was almost the same as it was back home there.
Yeah, when it was below 40, that was a shocking. But yeah.
Okay. And you must like it here because you put down some roots here and started a business, right?
Correct. Yes, it's very nice, quiet area with particularly our business and the way we run our business. It's good to be in this quiet area for, you know, inspiration, because in a big town you just in a rush, always kind of running, chasing something. Here you can kind of sit down, everything kind of slow, and you can kind of think about what we'll do next, what kind of designs we're going to implement, and things like that. And
so I want to get into details about the stuff that you do at your business, but you do sell PCs outside of the area too. So it's not just that you're only building PCs or doing work that's only for this community. You're actually doing a lot of assembly for machines that are being shipped probably all over the world, right?
Correct. So we do manufacturing. All the manufacturing happens here, but we're covering all United States. We shipped internationally, not too far away yet. It was like a Mexico. It was I think it was some other countries. It was Colombia. Yeah. So, but the other parts we didn't cover yet. But United States we covered completely.
Okay. When did you first become interested in PCs or computers?
I would say when I was 10 years old, somewhere there.
Do you remember your first computer?
Oh yeah.
What was it?
It was probably some of the dad's computer, old like Pentium that dad brought from work.
Yeah.
He was working at the bank at that time, and then ever since I think we started to tinker with it.
Yep.
And then I'm a self-taught, so I don't have any degree specific with the electronics, but it was always kind of every step of my way. It was right beside me, and I was self-educating myself, even until now. Every free time or any possibility on my free time, I'm giving it away for learning and improving my skills.
So when do you remember how young you were when you first took apart your first computer?
I would say when I was 10. I probably took that first computer. I was trying to.
Yeah. So, I mean, what did you see in that? Because when I've seen the insides of computers, and a lot of your computers are designed. I mean, I got to say, your computers are like works of art for what I've seen. They're just beautiful to look at, regardless of the functionality. But when I've opened up a computer before, and I've seen what's in there, I say, I'm lost. I can't make heads or tails of anything that's in there. But what was it about that? Opening up that computer and seeing what was inside that sort of fascinated you as a child?
I would say it just fascinates me as a whole, as a technology. How can you do this so it can operate this way, or what are ins and outs, or what are compatibility in the hardware, how this works and how that works. And I was going in depth on each individual part, and how the capacitors works, how the PCB works, and all that, and how they're interacting with each other. So I've probably burnt a few stuff and broke quite a few stuff by learning, but that was just a part of the process.
And I mean, you've been attracted more to hardware versus software programming and stuff like that, right?
I was always kind of the hardware part was always more kind of appealing to me. At some point I wanted to do the programming, but as I started programming, I realized that it doesn't bring that vibe to me. I want to create things physically. Mm-hmm.
So if you were going to just categorize PCs today that are for consumers, let's just say, what are sort of the standard use cases that people will have for a PC?
I would say there's so many use case scenarios for PCs. A lot of our business comes from the gamers. A lot of comes from the gamers and streamers who entertain their audience online.
Right.
A lot of office people who use our computers, and also bulk of the people or orders is workstation computers, production, movie makers, musical production people who needs a workstation computer specifically made with the hardware and performance to be optimized so their workflow is fast and efficient, especially in video and photo editing.
They need a lot of power for that, right?
Yes, yes. Some people think, editing photo takes that much, but if you do this as a business and you do this in a big scales, you want to be fast, efficient, so you have the capabilities to grow and do more at the same time, because sometimes you can do photos and videos on the same machine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that would take a lot of computing power to do that, right?
Yeah.
So if you put those two on the side, so you've got the gaming PCs, and then you've got the video editing sort of PCs, and then in the middle you've got sort of the business applications. The business computers are really probably the least sophisticated of all of those, right?
Yeah, the business computers can boil down to even a laptop.
Yeah.
Something that you can open up the Word, Excel documents, and but even so office people a lot of times they would use Office, but with the multiple windows is open, because they work with Excel documents, Word documents, and browser needs to be open with the multiple tabs. So now you're talking, maybe you need a multiple screen setup.
Yeah.
So with the laptop, you can do that, but you're going to be restricted to just your monitor with the laptop and separate monitor outside. But if you want to expand to 3-4 monitors in vertical or horizontal orientation, then you want to invest into the tower computer, where you have multiple outputs for the video signal, so then you can utilize more kind of real estate of the screens.
It sounds like to me that if you're going to be building a computer for a business or an individual, you will sit down and consult with them.
That's the biggest thing. We always advertise that we deliver personalized client experience. It's not that you kind of come in, nobody going to talk to you, like you go to the big box store where you see the products and you kind of left on your own and you're trying to decide, what will work for me best. So with us, you come to us and then so what are your tasks? What are your budget? How we can make your ideas work.
Yeah. And do you ever find that people who had a sort of a preconceived notion about how much they would be spending on a computer are actually pleasantly surprised?
Yes, we had most of our clients is actually surprised. We have people, because this market is very broad. You can step on a price that's going to be very big, but the same thing could have been done much lesser. We've had clients who day traders on the stock markets, and there is specific setups for those people. But say if you go to some companies, they can quote you for triple amount of money that we would do the same thing. Because when I gave my quote initially, when the customer contacted, we gave one price, and then she said, "Oh my God, I was quoted last week for 3x that you did."
Yeah, right.
So I said, "Yeah."
It's probably because you're very transparent with your pricing and all the different components and stuff like that, right?
I go about this. What would it feel if I would be in your shoes as a customer? I want you to spend your money wisely, because we know everybody earns their money pretty hard. So your money needs to be worth what you're spending it for. Right,
and you're not trying to kind of, because I feel like a lot of those computers and things that people would buy from, I don't know, just like the big manufacturers, Dell, HP, and stuff like that, they're buying either more or less than what they actually need, and they're paying a one-size-fits-all price.
Yeah, and a lot of pre-built companies like Dell, HP, and other computers, they a lot of times they cheap out on components, because those components are kind of pre-manufactured, and you don't have a lot of expandability and upgradability down the road.
Yeah.
It's kind of very restricted. You bought it today, tomorrow it's outdated, well, you're stuck with it. Where we tailoring our products to be upgradable in the future. So if I know that you're coming for video editing needs or for gaming needs, then you need this hardware, so you can have that kind of a performance in multiple years, so that we can expand rather than change.
Yeah. So if I'm coming in as a customer and I say I want to talk to you about getting myself a custom built PC, what are the, like, so for instance, like if you're buying a car, like you want to know what's the size of the engine or something like that, like what, and then maybe the body style or something like that. What are some of those kind of big ticket decision points that a person would make that would really drive where the computer is going to go?
Well, I would say everything going to be depending on your budget. So once we're going to discuss what our targeted comfortable budget, then we go ahead and create very detailed, in-depth estimate, where we list out all the components that we think going to work for you, as well as we including the pictures of the hardware, so that you can visualize your system, how it's going to look at the end, just by telling from the pictures. And once the customer kind of reviews, if he has any questions, we can follow up and say, okay, we made this choice because of this, and this is what you're going to have because of this choice. And then once the customer agrees, say, all right, that looks good, let's go ahead. Then we just putting everything into the process, and usually the time frame for fully custom built system is 7 to 10 business days.
That's what I was going to ask you. That's a really fast turnaround.
Yes. Work needs to be done efficiently, fast. We don't want customer for wait for a long time, because most of our customers are coming for us to buy product that's maybe available, but if we go customer route, sometimes we do have availability for the product that customer wants and it's going to fit him, but for the most time the custom orders is more popular.
So do you keep a lot of stock in the parts and stuff that you need?
We work with all manufacturers nationwide, and even outside. We work with production in Asia too, with all the production facilities. So we're talking to them, and we're always kind of in contact. I'm constantly after work, I'm kind of browsing. So what's available and where we are, what the pricing, because hardware pricing is always fluctuate a lot. So you can give a estimate today, and then in the 3 business days the prices might go up or go down.
Yeah, I think wasn't there a lot of with Nvidia and stuff. Their prices were flying all over the place. And
and sometimes there is a discounts or sometimes there's a promotion. So
sure.
we try and always to look for those as well to give our customers the best price. So if something is on the discounts or special coupons, we would definitely pass on that savings to the customer as well.
Do you do all the assembly yourself?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Estimating, assembly, and then obviously introducing the final product, because customers would, if the customer physically picks up the computer from us, then we would do the full rundown on the system with the customer. So this is how it performs, some kind of like a crucial points on how the airflow works, on what to keep up, how to keep up with the maintenance. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. So on your YouTube page and on your Facebook page, you have these really great videos that show off these computers that, I mean, people should go to KUB custom PC and on YouTube and Facebook to look at to check out what these computers look like, because whatever you're visualizing in your head, unless you've seen one of these computers, I think you'll be surprised at what these things look like, because they're, well, first of all, a lot of them seem to feature this water cooling system.
Yes, the water cooling system is very popular.
So explain what the water cooling system is and why someone would need it, what applications it would be useful for.
As right now, the liquid cooling is very niche. So it's not like everybody has to have it. It's more of a aesthetic feature, and with aesthetic we also comes performance. So who wants to have this? Either gamers who wants to expose their computers and the hardware in the best way, so that they can enjoy what they see right on the desk beside them. And then another application is professional. For professional application, we don't go that blingy kind of a style.
Yeah.
It can be
because a lot of these are like neon and lit up, and they're really cool looking.
Correct.
Yeah.
With water cooling, you can still achieve. If we're just chasing performance and we want to be liquid cooled, then it can be done more in a conservative looking way. So it can be more kind of like a special hoses. It's not those glass tubing, but rubberized hoses with the quick disconnects, like pretty much like you would see on the farming equipment with the hydraulic. Where you can have a quick disconnect to exchange components if you need to. But essentially what liquid cooling brings is you can squeeze out more performance out of the components, because as the components gets higher in performance, you are generating more heat, and by dissipating heat more efficiently, because water can transfer heat a lot faster than air, so we're transferring that heat into the large radiators or heat sinks as you call them, and then we exchanging hot air with the cold air more efficiently and faster. So we can increase the wattage that goes into the components. They get hot, they're going to become hotter, but also we're going to have more extra performance.
I mean, I'm thinking if the machines are running at that level of performance, and you're kicking the heat out into the heat sinks and stuff like that, would it actually increase the temperature of the room that you're sitting in to have
it
that?
It will. Yeah. Eventually there's going to be what we call temperature equilibrium. You can go only as cool as your environment. So if you're obviously you're not thinking about water cooling sitting in a very small room,
right?
Otherwise you have to have a cross flow in your room to get that out
now
from the room, so you have to put the fan in your
that's a pretty it's an integrated system then, wouldn't it be?
Yeah, but still, even by having water cooling and sitting in the enclosed environment will still benefit you if you're chasing those high peak performance levels.
Yeah. So one thing you said is that some of the PCs you're building are for streamers, and so a lot of that blingy stuff is probably more for them and stuff like that, even so that people could see.
Yeah, because a lot of times they want to entertain their audience.
Yes.
that they're watching. So they would have, because if you looked on the streamers, they have like a They have a picture.
Down in the lower corner there, and it's them sitting there, and then on the screen is the game.
Correct. Yeah. So if you have a beautiful system sitting right next to you, people kind of question, oh wow. So you're kind of attracting more audience, and then they might ask you some questions, or where you bought it, or what's in there, or
So, I just kind of curious about some of the more, interesting customizations that you've been asked to do. Like, can you give me an example of one where somebody called you and asked for something that was like, wow, that's a pretty interesting request.
There was people would request, I want to implement real wood into my PC, which we did like with real walnut. I want to have a mix of gold parts. They would not be real gold, but they would gold plated stuff. Or we just today we just posted one of the computers where implementation of both walnut and a gold.
I saw that and I thought that was so cool looking. It almost had like a steampunk look to it or something like that, right?
And talking about the steampunk, we actually had one request from the girl from Colorado. She wanted to be a steampunk kind of a going in her stream. So we built her with copper pipes.
Okay.
Full copper that you would use in in your regular plumbing.
Sure.
So we bent it and did it pretty cool job, and it was open frame style.
Yep.
So you could it was not enclosed in a box, but it was rather just an outside kind of. So you could all the hardware was exposed.
Oh, that is really interesting. Yeah, I'd like to see a picture. You should post a video of that one. I would love to see that.
It was probably on early stages so far because we started operate as a business since 2019.
Okay.
And we was kind of growing from that point.
You know what this kind of reminds me of is, remember there used to be that show on, I can't remember what channel it was on, but it was about the guys who built the choppers, the motorcycles.
Definitely.
And you could tell that, it was like a father and a son, and, I guess at some point they stopped getting along. But, while they were getting along, they had that shop there. And they were making these custom built motorcycles, choppers and stuff like that. And you could tell that these were going to be high performance, well built quality machines that were going to do what they were supposed to do in terms of performance on the road and everything like that. But then after a while, it seemed to get less about just building the motorcycles, but rather turning them into each one of them being, like, as I said before, kind of like a unique piece of art. And that's what what you're doing really reminds me of that.
Correct. And, I'm always trying to implement quality in my vision. So if I have an idea of the computer, I will try to first work on the design in my head before putting it into kind of in a production.
Yep.
So I would calculate everything. Okay, what's the airflow is going to be? What is the components going to go? Or what performance I want from this? And I always kind of trying to tailor everything to the specific budget brackets. So if I don't want to go outside from this budget, what I need to do to make this work. What components are we going to use to still not lack performance and the quality?
And you sketch it out, like on a piece of paper or something like that?
I would say I don't draw specific machine in the paper. I draw it in my head.
Yeah.
But in terms of components, yes, I would do the spreadsheet and I would work with numbers and the hardware and see how it's gonna in a theory how it's gonna work. But with I have experience in this already like 20 years, so I know all the components that's available in the market. So I'm pretty confident that the choices that I'm gonna make is gonna be the right fit.
Okay, so this is kind of a fun question. So what I'd like to know is what is the cheapest computer that you could buy, and also like what would be like the high end in terms of what you could actually spend for the top of the line custom PC?
I would say the cheapest probably the ones that we sell for, we call them home basic. It's probably like budget frame of $399. That's kind of our target because we've tried to dip below that, but below that you're sacrificing on a lot of things that you don't want to sacrifice because you don't want to spend money, even $200 on something that you're gonna have to spend another couple $100 in a couple of months because it's not gonna perform the way you need.
Right.
So I would say $300, $399, and probably the most expensive system that we built to date was $13,000.
Okay, and what was that for?
For streamer, but the case was so big that we had to freight ship it. We had an actual semi pulling in, and with the forklift we had to load this up on the
So it must have been some sort of a special design.
It was a lot of glass.
Uh-huh.
The tempered glass is heavy, and it was three sides with the glass, and
Yeah.
it was kind of like a big box.
Yeah.
With a lot of liquid cooling. Liquid also weighs a lot, so it was not falling into standard shipping just because of the weight and the size.
No, and if you can't say, you can't say, but do you like any sort of recognizable streamers that if you watch their streams, that you would notice that, hey, that was a computer that was built by Sasha Kubitskyi?
I would say for the most part, the only one that just comes to right in mind is DJ Spiderbot.
That's his name. Okay.
Yeah.
What is his game?
I think he plays multiple, even mobile games.
Uh-huh.
He streams on TikTok.
Uh-huh.
That's probably the most popular.
Yeah.
From the ones that we did. The other streamers, they either for the small group of people, or they just didn't grow that audience yet to be famous. But we don't categorize our customers on famous and not famous.
No.
If you streamer
Yeah.
and you want to get something real cool and special, we will make sure that it's special.
Yeah. We'll give you the tools that you need for success.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. Okay. Are you familiar with what's called Moore's Law? Have you heard of Moore's Law before?
I've heard it. I never deep dived into it because I'm not a fan of this. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
Moore's Law, nah.
Yeah.
Some say it's dead. Some say it's alive.
You're right. Yeah.
Nobody kind of gets to the conclusion. So it's dead or it's alive.
Yeah, and so just so people know what we're talking about, I guess what they say, I guess it might just be a principle of mathematics or physics or something like that too. But they say the number of transistors in an integrated circuit doubles almost every 2 years. What does that mean in plain English?
So I would say, that transforms into like processor units, so graphic processor units, and the actual processor for your central processor unit. Every year right now we go with such a speed of progress that it multiplies a lot every single year. So we grow in amount of transistors. Like right now, it's the popular 4 nanometer tech process of the chip wafers. And right now they're talking about like 2 nanometer. So it grows.
Yeah.
But
it doesn't double necessarily. Or?
Yeah. It's not doubled because at some point we're gonna have to go in some different number schemes. Because right now, as we're gonna go to 2 nanometers, I don't know what's gonna come next.
Yeah.
How small we can go and how much of a transistors we can compact into such a small size.
Mm-hmm. And what is the practical effect of the increase of speed of the chips, or the increase of the number of the transistors?
I would say how much clock speeds you can do in a second, so in nanoseconds. So that's how many operations you can do, how many cycles you can do per certain amount of time. So with the graphics cards right now being so powerful that I'm not going to be surprised that graphics card at some point going to become a computer as a whole. Because right now you have a combination between a CPU and a GPU. The CPU is a central processing unit, and GPU graphical processing unit. But the graphics cards are really popular right now and very powerful.
So what does that mean for the consumer, though? I mean, are we talking about like, photorealistic graphics where, like on a computer game or something where you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between whether it was a movie or a video game? Or, I mean, what would be the outcome of all this?
I would say where we are right now, it's really photorealistic, but take 15 years pass, 15 years ago we were at the stage where we were, these graphics looks very realistic. I can remember clearly when I was a kid, when we played the games, how realistic you can go, because this is already looks realistic, but compared to what we have right now, it's really, so it's gonna grow to it's hard. I would not bet on how it's gonna look, but I'm sure it's going to look really good from what we have right now.
Have you ever heard of something called the Uncanny Valley? Like this sort of as you approach like realism, there's something that still is lacking in, that, and so you can always sort of tell just by looking at it, even though it looks very realistic, but it seems like the faster and faster these processors get, that they're going to get across that, and it'll just be no different between reality and what's on a video game.
I would say right now, with the games, programmers or creators still have to fake something, especially like lighting or some effects. They have to what we call pre-bake them into the game engine. So it's when you come to the specific location of the game, or if we're even talking like virtual reality, you're looking at the thing and you think that it's, this is kind of nice, like reflections, for example. But that reflection was fake. It's not rendered in real time. But also NVIDIA, for example, why they so ahead of the game right now, because just a couple of years ago they released what's called real-time ray tracing, where you can bounce the light rays. The engine actually, in the graphics card, in the processing unit, can tell in real time how to bounce the lights and rays. So then your reflections are actually was not pre-baked; they're happening in real time.
Yeah. Wow. So what are some of the titles that, like, let's say you've got a parent and the child is coming to them and say, I need to get one of these $10,000 computers so that I can play this game or that game. What are some of the biggest, or what are some of the most well-known games that are known for needing a lot of processing power that are popular today with the kids?
I would say probably the first that comes to mind is Cyberpunk. That's the very popular right now game that utilizes probably all the features that's available on the market in terms of graphics.
Okay.
It's open world game. It's kind of like a sci-fi.
Is it a third-person shooter? Or
no, it's first person.
A first-person shooter. Okay.
Yeah, so it's utilizing probably every single aspect of features that's available on the market, and even the most powerful hardware can struggle right now. So it's this game waiting in some features on when the components will be so powerful that it can be run at a decent speed. Because when we're talking games, we're talking frames per second. That's how we measure how fast game runs, and there's a lot of that goes into it to make sure those frames per second can work with your monitor properly, because there's also a term that's called named bottleneck, when one of your components can hold back other component from you to see the actual performance that you paid for. So you can have a very powerful graphics card, but you can have a little powerful processor, so your graphics card is not utilized to its full performance potential. Or if you bought a $5,000 computer but you playing on $200 monitor, then your monitor is a bottleneck because you don't see what you paid for.
Okay. So that's the kind of consulting that you do with buyers and stuff like that, to make sure that those bottlenecks are removed. Esports is getting more and more popular. They have a program at the high school and stuff like that, and I think there's like regional competitions and things of that nature. I mean, the most of the esports titles, from what I understand, don't require a ton of graphics processing, or
they don't. No,
but is that changing? I guess.
The trend is not going to go that way, because to be competitive in esports, you care about how fast everything happens rather than how beautiful picture looks.
Okay.
So you're chasing frames per second, better, because input lag and how smooth everything. Because if your monitor is your bottleneck, then it doesn't matter how fast your computer is and how much frames per second, if you have like experiencing ghosting, or because modern esports happens so fast. I mean, everything on the screen, like first person shooters or everything, is just fascinating. How how people catching and shooting and how precise everything happens. And that's because of the performance and those frames per second.
So if you have a better machine, that's a distinct advantage, it would seem.
Yes and no. If you at certain point you already running to the game engine bottleneck, because if your computer is so powerful, then there's no need to be that powerful, because game can only run so fast.
I understand. So it sounds like that it's almost like if a person goes to a doctor or a lawyer, the more that they tell the person, like in your case, the more they tell you about what they're looking for, the better you're going to be able to help them
Right.
Meet their needs in terms of a PC.
Yeah, usually people would come to us with like, I have either specific budget or I have specific needs.
Yeah.
And this is, I'm starting out in gaming. Nothing, I'm not looking for anything extreme, but for something reliable and that can be upgradable in the future.
Yeah.
So then we know you're probably the most popular budget right now is from $1,000 to $1,500 for a gaming tower that will utilize all the modern hardware and will be compatible with decent future upgrades. Because the process, for example, motherboards, if we're talking motherboards, you can only live on one motherboard so many generations of the processor until that becomes obsolete as well. Like Intel, they only hold on to the motherboard for 2 generations. So whatever is available today, we are on the last generation of the Intel on current socket. So whenever next Intel processor will be coming out, everybody who wants to upgrade have to switch to the different platform.
I see. Oh, that's a good business model for them, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah. On the other side, the AMD, for example, they hold on to their, I would say since Ryzen, if you heard about them, Ryzen processors, they hold on to their sockets for at least 5 years, 5 to 6 years, so you have a lot of different generations that you can, if you want to jump to a bigger processor, better processor, all it takes is just updating the motherboard firmware to support that new processor.
Yeah. How much are you learning about some like the future of computing and stuff like peripherals and wearables and things like that? I mean, are you kind of anticipating expanding into those areas, or do you feel as though sort of the traditional model of the the tower and the monitor and all that stuff is going to be with us for quite some time?
I would say it's going to be, because the consumer base is so big and it's popular the way it is.
Yep.
But it doesn't take from different aspects of this market as well. We have compact builds, where we would say we integrate smaller builds with the monitors that you can take in your backpack and play in an airport, for example. You're not going to lack performance because we're utilizing the same full-size components.
Yep.
But they just in a more compact size. That's popular too, because even at home we can build you a computer that's in the size of an Xbox or PlayStation that's going to utilize full big standard components.
Yeah.
They just arrange in a way to make that happen with a good airflow, so then you don't lack performance.
Yeah, because it all has to do with heat and dissipation and all that stuff.
Correct.
Right?
So it has to be perfectly perforated side panels with a good intake and exhaust.
Okay, so what about you also offer some service and repairs and things like that.
Yep.
What are some of the most common problems that people come to you with when it comes to their PCs? They come to you say, my computer's broken or something like that.
I would say the outdated computers that they bought 5 years ago that was not serviced. And a big problem with computers is keeping up with the maintenance. So if you bought a very expensive tower 5 years ago and it's not performing the way it was performing, well, it should, at least on the 50% of that performance. But the most of it comes from the slowness and lagginess from what you did on your system, how you was installing programs. Did you clean your registry? Because a lot of things getting piled up in your system in temporary folders that needs to be cleaned up every so often to maintain that performance level. Because every time, even when you turn on your computer and you just sit on your desktop, your computer still works, and there's a tons of operations happening.
Yep.
Even just by sitting and idling. So those operations always, when the operation finish, it gets a little dump file of the junk, and it's into specific folders, and it just piles up like a snowball. And if you didn't do that in-depth cleaning for quite a few years, well, you just your performance goes down because your computer always interacting with those files as well, even though they were worked on, but computer still picks up nits and bits of those files, and sometimes it can be even kind of like a crush flow of different worked material that can cause random problems, restarts, errors.
So, do you offer some kind? I mean, like, bring your computer in, we'll clean it for you, or something like that.
Yes.
Is that a service that you?
Physical cleaning as well as system cleaning. So we do that in a kind of like a bulk. So you say by word, I need my system cleaned. We can divide that by physical cleaning and system cleaning, but usually I advise, if we're gonna clean your system physically, it's gonna worth at the same time for us to go in your system and do system cleaning as well.
Okay.
At some people would order also a full system reset, just because it's got dirty inside the system to the point where it's going to be more beneficial to completely reset the system with full storage drives format rather than chasing junk and trying to kind of chase it everywhere. Because you're interacting with your computer, you have a lot of stuff happening, and those programs sometimes can be installed multiple times.
Yep.
You forgot about them, you reinstalled it, then it's in the multiple locations, and I said, it's going to worth us to spend 1 hour or 1 hour and a half to completely wipe your system down, format drives, install the new Windows, and then optimize it for you, than spend 2 hours or 3 hours chasing.
Yeah, looking for little odds and ends here and there.
And with the physical cleaning also, your system works, it generates the heat. Heat gets transferred to the heatsink if you have a traditional cooler with a thermal solution. The thermal solution gets dry over time. It needs to be cleaned, and new thermal paste needs to be applied, because at some point you're not transferring heat. Your cooler works harder. You sitting in a noisy environment, your cooler works its best to get the heat out, but it's just not efficient.
One of the things that I think a customer might think about if you're talking about a full factory reset is, well, what about all my programs and things like that? When you do the reset, do you also reinstall the software, or do you just say, well, I cleaned it for you, here you go, good luck, now you got a new computer?
If it comes to personal data, we would always back it up.
Okay.
So if it's pictures and documents, we would back it up on a secondary drive.
Yeah.
Or if the customer just contacted us ahead of time, we would tell him, if you have something important, back it up.
Yeah.
So we just saves our time, and you know better what you want to save. So you would save the folders that you want to save, and then once the system is complete, we would either put those files back where they were in the same locations, or we would if there's a specific programs, we would reinstall. That's no problem.
Well, as I was thinking, like game save data and stuff like that. So isn't that stored locally sometimes?
No. All modern games is Cloudbase.
Oh, it is.
So no matter what computer you play it on, it's all synced with your account online. Okay. Before, when we had a physical CDs with a game that you put on, that was stored locally.
Yeah.
But right now, no. You can play on multiple computers and get to the same progress level that you did on the previous computer. So you can. Some people would, I live in one state, but then my college is in a different state. So, and they have computers in both locations. So whatever progress they finish there, they can just
go right back and pick up where you left off there. Okay.
Yeah.
What about how often do you come across a computer that looks like it's been hit with some kind of malware or scammer type stuff? Yeah.
Quite a bit. We call right now the biggest scam and biggest kind of a problem is actually antiviruses. Yeah. because antiviruses right now got to the point where they cause more damage than not having antivirus at all. First thing, they're running always on the background, eating up your performance. So if it's a
McAfee does that, doesn't it? Yeah.
Norton, I think Norton's wins right now.
Really?
Yeah. Before they were a small application, basic application that would be somewhere in your tray, doing some little stuff in the background. Well, right now it's a whole suite of things, VPN, backup this, backup that. Hey, you want to buy this? Let's subscribe to that.
I know.
Just let's go. So it's very frustrating because people say, and people buy the subscriptions to have that, but so you have your Norton or McAfee or other, they running on your system. You think they just, it's an application. Well, if you go to the task manager and see actually how much performance it hits, you're going to be...
It's amazing, yeah.
So you think you're using your computer. Why is my computer getting slow? Well, because 70% right now just got eaten up by Norton. So you have just the 30% left for your tasks.
Yeah. Does McAfee or Norton have a contract or something with Microsoft that, or whatever the manufacturer is of the software that because I feel like you can't delete that. It's like if you have it on your computer, you put it like add remove programs and stuff like that, you just cannot get rid of it for some reason.
And that's where the full flash of the system happens. So a lot of times, so we have customers who would buy a computer somewhere before they knew about us, or a laptop in Walmart.
Yeah.
And they would come in to us and say, can you please set this the way I want it to use? So we would go and completely wipe everything that was installed in there from the beginning, starting from the motherboard BIOS.
Yeah.
We'd go into the motherboard BIOS, adjust that. Then completely wipe and delete everything that was there previously from the manufacturer and set it up the way we set up all our computers. Clean installation of Windows, proper adjustments of the drivers.
That would be so helpful to so many people, I think, if they knew about that you could do that.
And drivers has to be installed in a specific order, like chipset drivers and then the graphic drivers. And then we would optimize after all the drivers have been installed, then you have to optimize your system. For example, in laptops, certain Windows features needs to be disabled just for the sake of usability of that system, so you don't run into the problems because laptops, the chips are small. Some people say, and I've had pretty interesting conversations with people when they say, I'm looking for a computer, we would spec out specific tower with the specific specifications, and then the customer would say, well, that's kind of a lot because the price is kind of big because right now I have in my laptop I have i7 and you just quote me for i5, and it costs a lot more. When you cannot compare what the naming scheme goes into the laptops and what naming scheme goes into the full, because that's different.
It's a different chip.
Different chips. That was made for marketing purposes because it's easier to sell a bigger number.
Yeah.
In a laptop, you're gonna be i7.
Yeah,
I'm buying it for this price. i7. Jeez, I'm buying it.
It's deceptive.
But then if you go to the actual model number, you will realize that this i7 will probably perform, will perform as a half of an i5 of a full tower computer. So that's how it goes. It's very frustrating. The naming scheme should change, but they're not going to have that kind of a sales in the laptop industry if it's just going to be named i3. So yeah. And with the laptops, we would pick the laptop that's work for the customer as well. Yeah.
So you do laptops as well. Will you manufacture laptops?
No, we don't do that because obviously laptops get pre-manufactured on the line because it's a stamped product pretty much.
Right.
But we would help customers to pick the proper laptop. Okay. Because we know what you should get hardware-wise for your comfortable price and for your needs.
So you could sell a laptop from your place there.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Aside from the antivirus software, what would you say would be the other sort of big things that people should be on the lookout for in terms of malware? How it would get on there?
I would say.
How would you know that you had a problem?
So, with the antivirus, I would suggest if you think that you need that kind of a level of protection, then Windows has built-in antivirus as well. It's called Windows Defender. It's not very superior, advanced level of performance in security, but it gets the job done for typical home user. You don't need anything below that, beyond that.
Okay.
For applications where you company with a big network, there can be also solutions done where you don't have your antivirus specifically in your system, but in your server and whatever the way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you have that on that level, so it doesn't hit performance of your individual computers. But yeah, the security, it's a very in-depth kind of topic.
Yeah.
And we go with the customer. If the customer requests for a certain level of security, we would advise on how to achieve that.
Are you knowledgeable on security issues as well?
Yes. And then as your question goes to how you know that you got hit by the virus, obviously if you're running antivirus, it would give you a pop-up message that, we found something. And Windows default security do that as well. So you would get a notification that something wrong, you downloaded the wrong number. And obviously the customer or person that uses computer should not fall for blingy button, download here. This is the big green button. Or, you wanna download something. Say you got referred to the program that you searched and you found it. You think you found it and you think you're on the right side, but then it kind of looks kind of sketchy because of all the advertisings on the sidebars and then you have a flashy green button, download. You probably should avoid that website. Or look for a small button, download here with the actual file extension and file name.
Okay. Well, wow, I've learned a lot today. It's been really great talking to you, Sasha. And so I guess in closing, what are your hours? What are your business hours?
We work Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. and then on Saturday from 10 until 5.
Okay. So keeps you pretty busy there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they can find you on Facebook or on what's your telephone number too?
Telephone number is 218-252-3981. And then we're available on all social media platforms. We try to cover everything: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, as well as on our website. I always advise people to go on Google and read some reviews, because we have a review section where people left their comments and their experience that they had with us, as well as the Facebook. They also have a review section. So I always tell people, go in if you want to feel more confident in us and our knowledge. You should hear the real feedback from the people online and kind of. But if you just type in KUB Custom PC on Google, it will give all the social media and all the things where we are. Okay.
So you work 6 days a week. What do you do for fun or for hobbies or anything like that around here?
Well, it became that my job is my hobby.
Yeah.
So I would, like I said, all free time I spent on educating myself more. Because this market moves so fast and new things comes out daily. So you have to be on a spot what's and where and how it happens. So I watch a lot of podcasts where people talking about computer stuff or video reviews and talking to manufacturers. I would say free time I would talk to manufacturers on what do you have new, or is there any deals or sales or
no downtime.
Yeah, pretty much no. But if there is a downtime, then we probably spend it together with the family.
Yeah. Well, good. This has been really great. Like I said, Sasha Kubitskyi, KUB Custom PC. I hope to see you around town soon and that you'll come back and talk to us again sometime.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.